Welcome to the Nevcast, where three bros talk business, art, justice, and the pursuit of Jesus.
Any day above ground is a good day.
Get ready to laugh, cry, and kiss 30 minutes goodbye with Peter Nevland,
Dave Nevland,
and
Rashid.
Hey! Oh, we are back on the Nevcast. We've got Rashid. Are you still out there, buddy?
He's out there.
He's still there.
Driving to Arlington now.
I get ready to go to all this few minutes. I gotta go get hold up. I gotta hit the highway, man. Hit the highway and the byway.
You gotta hit on the road again.
Run through the checks and hit the highway.
You just can't wait to get on the road again.
Got to run through all the checks first. Check all the tires.
Yeah. Well, and we have Johnny Molson here again with us because, you know, he's saying so much cool stuff. We're having so much fun talking. We figured we'd do a part two because we really, you know, we talked about story and the power of story in business and the power of story just to as motivation as well to help you connect with your clients and stuff like that. What we didn't really get into was kind of the theater aspect. And look, I mean, you got a full-time business where you're writing ads, you're flying places. You know, it seems like I regularly hear, oh, hey, I'm going to be in, you know, Milwaukee this day. Oh, now I'm going to be in Florida this day. I'm going to be in Oklahoma this day, whatever. And you're doing those kinds of things. And now then you're also taking part in these theater productions, which my experience with theater productions is that they're not they're not an easy time, schedule, like where it's like you need 5 minutes one day and then you got it.
Yeah.
So how does that
it's
work
a time
out?
suck. It's a time commitment. Yeah. I don't know. I have not figured out how it works out. It's it's a lot of juggling. I'm in a production right now and had a couple of business trips kind of in the middle of rehearsals, and you just got to have a director who's flexible and a cast who's willing to work around that kind of thing. And I do community theater, so everybody else has a full-time job too. So it's not
right.
It's not unusual. It's
Labors of love.
But it's a labor of love. You know, you do it because you love it.
Yeah. So, and I think people, this idea of community theater, a lot of people will probably, well, it's not Broadway or something like that, but it's not like that there's any less art and there's any less love that's put into it. In fact, might even be more, as a result of you getting into this, right?
I think if you go and see a production in your local town, put on by volunteers, if you've seen a Broadway production, I think it makes you appreciate what some local actors are doing because, Broadway actors are doing it. They get to rehearse 8 hours a day, and it's their full-time job. And they're doing much larger productions. But boy, to get a group of people to spend just a couple hours an evening after dinner rehearsing some things, and then in about 6 weeks put up a show. There's a lot of literal blood, sweat, and tears that goes into that.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. So tell me, so you said that, you really, because on the last episode, you said that you really kind of got excited about or started taking theater and acting classes as a way to get better for radio. What was the moment, or what were maybe the moments where, you started to get really excited about what you were doing in theater, where you were like, who cares if this radio thing continues or not? I'm going to continue doing this theater and this acting thing because I just love it, or something. I mean, it's right.
Yeah, I think it's all one thing. It's all just whether I'm performing on the radio or performing on stage or performing by writing a script that a company is going to put on as their advertising. I think it's all kind of under that umbrella of the creative arts. Right. And so I don't necessarily disconnect one from the other. I just enjoy the kick of creating something out of nothing.
Yeah. Would you say that there's a certain type of role or certain type of production that you like to do, or would you say that you enjoy the community aspect, like the relationship building with the people, more? Is there one or the other? Are they both of those?
Yeah, that's a really cool question. I don't know. I don't know if it's one or the other. I
So
do think there's
have there been roles or productions types of productions that you like to do that do a certain thing?
Um, I think when there is a connection being made with the audience, that's what I like so much about live theater is that even the most well rehearsed show, there's something a little bit different every night, and everybody's only experiencing it that one time for that one moment, and so there's always going to be a certain shared moment, not just with the actors, but the actors with the audience and the audience within themselves. That's not going to happen when you're just sitting at home watching YouTube videos.
Yeah. How long do you feel like it took you to sort of like realize that aspect of it, that how compelling that was?
Something kind of magical happened, and truly from some other place, and I can't point to it, but it's when I was on the radio, and usually at about the time where I'm going, gosh, why am I still doing this? I'm exhausted. About every year and a half, I'd get a phone call from somebody who says, I was having a crappy day and you made me laugh when I was driving home, and I felt better, and I just wanted to call and thank you for that. Now, they didn't have to do that. But something happened. I transmitted something to them. They gave it back to me, and I think there's always been that thing, and it goes back to from the first time when I was 19 years old and doing a first radio show. It's just the way I would constantly get this kind of reply from somebody at very sporadic times. Where they just say, "Hey, you know what? I just wanted to. I appreciate what you did. You took me out of a funk." And that's otherworldly. It's coming from somewhere else. It's really pretty special.
There's a good power. That is the best power.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it's interesting that so many people talk about art as if we just want to be good. If you're an artist, you just want to be good. You want to do an amazing performance and stuff. I don't think there are very many artists who just say, well, I'm just interested in it for the sake of me doing it.
For the pure aesthetics.
Right.
And I think that people that do say that are kind of like they're fooling themselves, really. Because if it's not about connection and making an impact on people, then there's just so much less satisfaction. We're still motivated to relationally connect.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right about that. And maybe the people who say that haven't quite found that, whatever that molecular bond is that shoots across the air, and maybe they haven't found that yet, and they are getting their own personal satisfaction out of it, and that's fine. But I think when you realize that you are taking people away for a moment from whatever is going on in their world, good, bad, or indifferent, their bills, their worries, their sad, when they are removed from that for 90 minutes or 2 hours, that's a special thing, and it shouldn't be done or taken lightly.
Yeah. So, tell me about this from sort of an actor's perspective. As you get into a role and you're trying to embody a role, what do you have to do in order to make this character that you're playing someone that the audience can connect to, and make some sort of a bond with? Like, do you have a process, or how do you go about that? What are the things that you need to find?
Hey,
I think it comes in.
Hold on, Johnny. What are you saying, Rushy?
Oh, sure.
I'm pulled into this loading dock. I'm gonna have to let y'all go. Y'all have a blessed one, man.
Thank you.
Ryan,
You too, Rushy.
Good to talk to you, buddy.
And
Good talking to you again, Charlie Moser, man. I see you.
Johnny Molson.
Close enough.
Close enough. Johnny Molson.
Oh, Johnny. Okay. I'm thinking it was Charlie Moser. My bad. I'm sorry, man.
No, it's all
That's
good.
He's a good
All
one
right.
too.
His twin, Charlie Moser. So,
All right. See you, Rashi.
all right, one love, bro. One. All right,
Two.
one.
All right. So, Johnny, you were saying
So-
as far as getting into the actor and making him
getting into the
relatable,
persona.
or her, I guess it could be.
Yeah, I think it happens in layers. I mean, first I'm getting the words down and where I'm going to stand and not knock over a table or anything, and then I am looking for quirks, mannerisms, things that I think make us all human. The visible and invisible scars that exist. And when I can find those little nuances, either in the actual voice I'm using or just the approach of the voice of the character, and I think that's when it becomes realer for the audience. And so I'm always kind of looking a few layers down to stuff that might not be written in the text, but it's certainly in the subtext.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you find there's a pattern to the type of character that you end up portraying more often than not at all?
I don't know if there is. Maybe. I guess I never really thought about that.
Do you? I mean, in the productions that you're in, is there a good guy, bad guy? A lot of times, protagonist, antagonist. And which one are you? Are you usually protagonist or antagonist?
I've been fortunate enough to have the opportunity to play both. And I think the really well written plays, you see a transition from protagonist to antagonist and back again sometimes, and those are the folks that are most interesting, and the stories that I think are most interesting, because that's life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
True.
Right.
Well, and how much does your acting and the things that you're looking for to make someone, say, more human, more relatable, more easy to connect with the audience, how much of that comes out from your reaction to the characters that or the other actors that you're working with when you're in the middle of a script? I mean, obviously they're embodying a role, and so you're both embodying a role, but then you have to connect in this relational thing and play off each other. How much of that comes off of that?
Yeah, I think that's a really important thing, Peter. I've heard it said, and I don't know who to attribute the quote to, but that acting is reacting. And so, there are those, and it can be as simple as just a dart of the eye or a cock of the head or something that says that I'm here with this other person that's in this scene with me. Back in the early '90s, I went through the training center at the Second City in Chicago, and that's such an ensemble situation where you've got actors doing sketch comedy and improvisation.
Yeah.
But what was taught to us, and what I've always taken away from that, was the subtle art of give and take. You've got to know when to take the spotlight. You got to know when to hand it off to somebody else and not steal it back.
Yes.
And I think that's a lot of actors. It takes a while to find that, to say I need to step aside because this is this person's moment, and the audience needs to have their eyes there and not here.
Yeah, I think there's some actors that never find that.
Yeah.
That's
Right? There's some actors that just take it all the time, right?
Yeah, and they're so hyper aware of what they're doing. It's like, I need to always be busy and I need to always be moving around and doing something, and you don't. Sometimes you just need to take a half step back and let this other person have their moment, because it makes both sides so much stronger.
Yeah, more interesting. Yeah.
Well, I mean, isn't that true for if you're a radio host or a podcast host? Isn't that also true if you're a marketing consultant?
It's true in business. If you're sitting around a table having a meeting and you're trying to come up with ideas or just discuss something that's going on in your business, are you able to give focus to somebody else? There's always that meek person in the room that never quite is heard.
Yeah.
And whenever I'm sitting around a table with a lot of people, I always try to find that person and kind of lock eyes with them, because there's something useful in there, but for some reason they don't feel, there's always the strong dominant alpha character in every meeting, and then there's always somebody who's laying back and processing, and I want to hear from that person just as much, because there's something to offer there. And I think that's an important lesson in business. Is are you offering the spotlight to maybe a subordinate in your business, or is it all top down dictates?
Yeah, I mean, it's business, as an artist as well, in that collaborate. So you're talking about as an artist. I remember, when I first started performing, and I had this attitude of, oh, hey, I'm just happy to be, on the stage. You guys are doing this thing. I don't really have anything. But then there was something that happened as I started to get recognized or noticed for what I was doing, and I started to think, as a band came together, I started to think that my ideas and the things that I'm doing are the things that need to, sort of be spotlighted, right? And it took a while then to start learning and to start going, hey, wait a second, this is not going to work so well if it's all about me. It's going to work much better if, first of all, it's about all the guys that are in the band or that are playing together with me. Like, how can I put the spotlight on them? And then what I started to realize, well, in reality, this is not so much about me, but this is about the audience. How can I tie this into the audience? And so how can I put the spotlight on other people, and how can we just go somewhere together and find this way to connect over art, and then go somewhere that we've never gone together and have this experience together that we all can have together. That became magical. And then I remember being a marketing consultant thinking that I have to come up with all these creative ideas. And I remember there's something that, someone said to me a while ago. He's like, hey, what if you were thinking about what they want to accomplish? And if you put your focus on how to help them accomplish what they want to accomplish. And I was like,
a whole lot more creative power.
Yeah, I don't have to be the most creative guy ever. I just need to be able to spot the good creative ideas, even if they're not mine, and just go, hey, let's do that, because everybody's excited about that. That's the best idea. Let's go for that. You can all get behind it, and you're talking about it in theater, but I think it's just true of life.
Well, sure. A lot of ways to get up the same mountain, and it doesn't have to necessarily be my way or my idea. It's like, okay, if that's the path that makes the most sense for you, let's follow that path and work hard to make it work. That's okay. It's not an all or nothing thing.
Yeah. Well, and it almost sounds like we are, saying, oh, getting into that whole like, oh, well, whatever is your truth works. It's not that. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is valuing someone else, their perspective, and where they are, and walking with them, and
amplifying it,
and
healing,
celebrating,
restoring.
calling out the good in other people. It's like in group improv, you're not trying to negate other people. You're trying to say, hey, you just came up with a good idea. I'm going to roll with it. I'm just going to go with it and do this. And I think, how many times do we encounter in our lives other people, whether this is in art, whether this is in business, whether it's in church or, whatever spiritual setting that you're in, how often do we encounter other people that are like, I care far more about what's going on with you than what's going on with me right now. Let's talk about that. Can you just tell me about you? Like, whenever I encounter somebody like that, it always blows me away.
Seems rare.
It is rare. It is rare. And I think it was Kelly Leonard wrote a book years ago from the Second City called Yes and. And one of the you said one of the rules of improv is not to negate people, and that's absolutely right. Another one of the rules is your job is to make the other person look good, and because that person is out there on stage as naked can be, and your job is to make whatever they presented a success. If the guy says, "Hey, welcome to my banana stand," we're doing a scene about a banana stand, and we're gonna make it the best scene possible. But I think it's true in business too. Is how can you elevate somebody and make that person a success? Because when that happens, the whole team wins, and some really magical things start to happen that would not happen if there was just one person leading the charge.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hard. It's hard. Easy to say, hard to do.
That's very true.
Yeah. Not that it's all collaboration, like, oh, let's all just put our head together. But I mean, you're really like keying in on other people's drives and motivations and amplifying those things. I mean, in a way, serving. I mean, that's how it is in business. But you're saying we could do that in art and plays and movies and productions like that too.
Yeah, ultimately somebody still has to be the conductor of the orchestra. Somebody has to decide this is the song we're playing.
Yeah.
But within there, you have to know when the flutes need to be louder and when the bass drum needs to be quieter and balance that out. That's the conductor's job. That's the business owner's job.
Yeah. It seems like, when I see the ads that you write, Johnny, and I almost wish we could play some of them for people because some of them are just brilliant. The dialogue back and forth that you have, and they're just so funny, so quick. There's clearly so much experience that you've had there. But is this something that when you're just writing, you just kind of have this like
knowing,
this is just going to work, and I'm just going with it, or do you recognize that there's a certain quality, there's a certain principle that if you employ it in your writing and in your art, in your acting, that it always tends to draw people in and move people, change, like you see people's lives change or people impacted, longer term than just I'm entertained. You know what I mean? Do you know what I'm getting at? Is there something that ties that together?
Boy, I know that there is. I haven't put my finger on it yet, and I wish I could point to it and say it's right there. I've never been really good at deconstructing my own work and saying, this is why that worked. And I wish I had that ability. I think it takes somebody else looking at it, talented writer like yourself and a talented producer like Dave, to see what's going on in there. I don't know.
That's a similar thing. I mean, if I'm choosing music to go behind a production or something like that, I know. I have a feeling of what I'm looking for, but then I find it and I ended up liking it, and I say, oh, it could be good, but no, this is very good. I mean,
yeah.
We're talking about that,
God
the creating of the
world.
world, right? Yes, it was good. It was good. It was good. It was good. And this is very good. Like, we'll leave it right there, right? It's like that's
really special.
That's how it's done, and you don't have to spend forever redoing it. But it's hard to say what the principle is, and easier to say I felt something and then I made something happen that was very good, very close to what I was feeling.
Well, it's almost as if beauty, like the creation of beauty, requires there also to be, along with it, this precious fragility, this vulnerability.
Yeah.
In order, the combination of these two things that don't quite fit together, but when we recognize that this was either a moment that was super special, but it's so temporary, it's so rare that it happened, and that creates this appreciation and allows us to connect in a way where people then it's almost like what helps us take our guard down, what helps us to actually be willing to expose the tender parts of ourselves, the vulnerable parts of ourselves. That's where the change comes, right? And so when we get vulnerable with other people, it's almost like they're allowed to feel more
allowed, more
able to get vulnerable as well.
Yeah.
And that connection, I heard it said, we talked about this a number of episodes ago, where this counselor was saying that our scars are touching someone else's scar is the place of greatest intimacy with them. That when you allow someone to touch that place that's the most tender of you, and then they do it, there is a connection that happens that is the most sacred, the most bonding that can possibly be. And what you were saying, one of the things that you were saying about finding this person's act is like saying, looking for someone, the scars, the things about someone. And when you find that, being able to bring that out, people can connect with that.
Yeah. Yeah, because we see in that ourselves. Because we all have the scars. We just don't seem to think other people do too.
Isn't that crazy?
It is weird. And suddenly, when you see that, you go, "Oh, yeah, I know what that is." And yeah, you become immediately closer. But yeah, there's always that guard up until somebody is vulnerable, and then you do go, "Yeah, oh gosh, yeah, I've been in that world too."
Well, and I think we seem to think that God is invulnerable, that Jesus is invulnerable, and yet look what he did. He takes off all of that stuff. He comes and he spends time. He bees with us. He spends time with us, and learns our language. As a little baby, is helpless as a baby. But then there's he gets scarred. He gets wounded, and he gets emotional about it. Look, I picked all of you, and isn't one of you a devil? It's like there's no way you say that without being frustrated,
Crazy. And then by his
you want to
wounds-
stop following me too? And then Thomas is like, yeah, I'm not going to know it's you until I put my finger in your scars. And he's like, come on, please.
By his wounds we're healed.
Yeah. Anyway, it's cool stuff. I love Johnny, the artistic, the business side, the intellectual, the strategic. It is a pleasure constantly working with you. It's a pleasure having you on the Nevcast. Thanks
Likewise,
for coming
guys.
back for part 2, man.
I used to say, and it sounds kind of crass, I like bringing your stuff into reality, but that's literally what I do is I record the people and put it together and make it so that you can actually listen to it beyond reading.
And you always find something that I didn't realize was hidden in the words too. That it's like, oh yeah, that's even a level above what I thought was going to be. I mean, that's what's so cool about the collaboration. So I love the Nevlin brothers.
Thanks, Johnny.
Thanks, Johnny.
All right.
All right. Well, we'll see you next time on the Nevcast.
Come back for more collaboration.
There we go. Bye-bye. That's it for the Nevcast this time. Join us next week when we talk justice, business, and art in pursuit of Jesus. We will see you soon.